So, leading the team, a lot of turmoil last year. So, how is Dick feeling as a leader right now?
The beginning of season 4, he feels good. You know, he's just defeated Crane in Gotham City. The Titans are working really well together. I feel like season 3, Dick Grayson went through, a period of time where he was struggling with being a leader. He was struggling with, his moral center and how he wanted to ethically fight crime and lead these younger superheroes into being their best selves. Crane was obviously a big psychological villain, and figuring out how to outsmart him was kind of the seasonal arc, as opposed to season 2 where Deathstroke was more of a physical villain, and them kind of battling in hand-to-hand combat was the drama there. This season, the Titans are facing more of a supernatural villain, so it delves into elements of horror and the occult, dark magic, and elves, and all kinds of weird shit that Dick Grayson hasn't ever encountered before. So he has to rely upon another set of skills and reach out to friends of his that he's met in the past that he normally wouldn't do. He's basically been thrown. At the beginning of season 4, like I said, he encounters a supernatural, adversary who just throttles him, and he has to figure out who they are, what they want, and how to fight them.
Would you say one of the things that I love about the comic is that there are times where he gets real joy, where he can be such a lighthearted, and I feel like you have that in you, and that you get to do that from time to time, but the show can be so dark, and I find that in all the characters, you all have such sort of humor to the way you perform. Do you think in this season, are there moments that he might get some laughs, or get to kick back? I mean, I know he's facing a big threat, but
it's a good question, and it's something we definitely need more of. It's a note, and we talk about it a lot. It's something that it's essentially the lighthearted comedic nature of Nightwing is so ever present in the comics, and it's something that fans are really craving for, and it's something that we probably don't deliver as much as we should,
but it's in your performance. I don't want to suggest.
No. I mean, I love doing it when the circumstances are there for me to do it.
Sure.
But it's hard when you're right. The show is dark, and in order to make these moments believable, I have to add weight to them. If someone's died, they've died. I've really got to believe it, and to a lot of the time in creating conflict and drama and setting up an obstacle, it's up to me to deliver the information to the Titans. And if I was to do it in a way that was kind of flourished or forced, it would feel like I wasn't doing the information service. Moments where it does really work, and we have worked on this season, is in the fights. He's Nightwing, he's jumping around, he's flipping, and in and out of a fight, I think it works really well because you have physical moments of rhythm that can kind of, you can joke about your physicality because you've spent a lot of energy and a lot of tension, a lot of kind of resolution fighting these people. At the end of it and the beginning of it, you can kind of, you're committed to try and be funny. There's one bit in the teaser that came out yesterday where I'm fighting these ninjas, and exactly that happened. We were shooting this scene, and there was no dialogue in the scene, I don't think. And we went back to try something. I wanted to try this idea that, that Nightwing hates ninjas, that he's done this before. It's just like doing his tax. I hate doing my tax. But we all have to do it. And it worked really well. It's really funny, and it's it's kind of the character that we all love, and there are a few more throughout the season, but that's one that works really well.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that'd be a really strange comment.
Unfortunately, we don't share a physique, but
We could.
So over in the booth, we could, but
Come join me at the gym. We'll hit the weights.
All right, let's do it, Superboy. All right. So over in the booth downstairs, we got a letter between Superman and Connor. So do you and Superman have a relationship this season, and what's that like?
Short answer, yes. We have an interaction. We have a relationship. One of the very exciting things about this season of Titans is that Connor is, in a very real sense, introduced to his parents for the very first time, because up until this point, it's kind of been just all hearsay, right? It's been what other people have told him about Superman, what other people have told him about Lex, and he's had to kind of coalesce those ideas into an interpretation of who his fathers are, and is this behavior more like what Superman would do, or is this more what Lex would do? Should I be doing one or the other? Now he actually gets to meet, without spoiling, he gets to kind of really wrestle with those ideas in a real sense of meeting those people, for want of a better term. But I can say that he does meet Lex Luthor. We have a Lex Luthor in this season. As you say, there's a letter from Superman, so we do know there's correspondence. That's no spoiler. Yeah, without giving too much away, it does play a big role in the season and for Connor.
Connor seemed like he took the loss of Hawk really hard. Is that still weighing on him in this new season?
Yeah, I think that the various experiences of season 2 and 3 all kind of are all formative in their own ways for who Connor is now, and you see the influence of those things. You see the influence of Hawk's death and his inability to save Hawk, and he does definitely, there is guilt associated with that. And you see the influence of Blackfire and what he learned from the relationship with her, and who he kind of became as a person as a result of that relationship and that heartbreak. And by the same token, by the end of season 4, he, as a person, he's just so wildly different to who he was at the beginning of season 4, just due to that arc and that development. And frankly, he absolutely goes through it this season. So much happens to him this season that you couldn't even expect a person to be unaffected by that. You couldn't expect him to be the same as he was. So yeah, there is that. That's one instance of Hawk's death, definitely. But it's a combination of things as well. Yeah.
Just following up on that, the journey you mentioned going through this whole season, what has that been like just as an actor, being able to dive deeper into his backstory and really get into this massive origin that he has, just scratch the surface of?
Yes, it's juicy, man. It's lovely. We get to kind of get right in there and really wrestle and deal and feel these things that we've only kind of touched on in the past. We've kind of, as you say, we've scratched the surface. We've introduced these concepts and we've kind of let them lie, and now we're going to see it. We're going to see what it means when Connor says something like, you're expecting my Lex side to take over. We're going to see what that looks like. We're going to see Connor grapple with those choices and really actually be faced with the hard choices. He has to decide who he is. There's no longer some amorphous force that's influencing him. You've got a person there now. You've got Lex Luthor, and he has to encounter him and deal with him as a very real threat.
Any false expectation, any false hope.
Right.
We don't want to let people down. what does occur and happen in terms of any sort of intermingling is it's fun, and that's all I can say. So yeah, I'm sorry. A little underwhelming.
Never apologize for fun.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. I had a hand in that. Whatever that is. You guys feel free to read between the lines and fill that in on your own.
Just a general one. What can you tease about what's coming ahead this season for Gar?
It's been 3 seasons of trauma for Gar, and this season is diving into mental health. It's diving into using pain as the fuel for self-growth, self-discovery. His powers evolve in ways that we haven't seen on the show quite drastically and quickly. There is a force that kind of pervades through DC that Gar will be maybe communing with, being communed with, which helps to kind of bring him back into his primal self, inform his ability to be greater and more than he ever has been with his limiting self-belief and self-created narratives that keep him in a bit of a Stockholm syndrome from previous family dynamics and being the caregiver and the almost the service worker of the group. He takes a step back to kind of reevaluate what he needs, and when he does that, the level of growth that comes out of this character this season is, I said it already, but it's payoff. It's payoff. Fans have been wanting something of this for a while and for him for a while, and I think this is the season that I think people will be pleasantly surprised.
What's it been like playing that?
It's been phenomenal. I mean, I think post-pandemic, I think one of the major topics that humanity as a whole should be discussing is mental health and how we evolve consciousness and what comes from the deep work, what comes from self-inquiry, what comes from trying to expand past preconceived notions about oneself, not just of others, but what you limited yourself to, and that, I mean, it's the plot and the character are so entwined at that point because his whole thing is he can evolve and he can change. We wanted to still tell the human story of Garfield Logan and all the trauma that pre-exists this season, or predates this season. He comes into his own in a way where he's been smiling, he's been laughing through the pain, but now it's entirely different. He can accept the pain, he can heal the pain, he can acknowledge that that's valid without putting too much stake into it, without that becoming who he is, without that being the motivating factor of why he wants to help or why he is the way he is. There is an opportunity to grow outside of the traumas of the past.
In the comics, Brother Blood has a deep connection with Beast Boy.
Sure.
Are we going to get some of that mingling this season and tapping into the red and all that?
So Brother Blood and Beast Boy do not have many scenes with one another.
Okay.
For good reason.
Okay.
Joseph Morgan, his entire, I think, purpose is not only to be a phenomenal human being, a phenomenal performer, but is to drive the stakes of the show higher. My goal is to always drive the stakes of the show lower. I am trying to bring everyone back to a laugh, a chuckle, a heartfelt moment, and you can't really have that when people's faces are being torn off and people are bleeding from their eyes, and it's just I don't think it was intentional, but it worked out the way it needed to. So there wasn't isn't too much intermingling and crossplay between the two. There is a little bit of intermingling when Joseph Morgan is still Sebastian Sanger, and that's an interesting storyline that you guys will see early on. And
Do you want to trade?
You know what? I gotta go get. I have a collection of the posters from every season on my walls, and that's a version of a poster that I have up there. They kind of split the characters around, but it's also got the core four, which you don't see very often anymore because we've got the, our cast grew
extended cast.
like rabbits.
Triple, right?
It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're like, oh no, there's too many people. We don't literally have trailers to house. So somebody has to go die, and dying on our show just means basically you're going to be off to the side for a while.
Brother Blood, is he someone you wanted to bring in for a while? Was he the first choice? Is an adversary this year, or
100% first choice? I remember walking around here in September last year in the city on the phone with one of the writers in LA talking about Brother Blood stories and how to kind of tell an interesting cult leader story. Because we can't just, the destination of him as Brother Blood was less interesting to me, and then of course the path of how he got there. So nobody loves a cult leader. I mean, I suppose if you're in a cult, you're pretty thumbs up on your cult leader, but generally they don't fare well in history. And so I was less interested in that destination than in the story of how Sebastian, played by Joseph Morgan, who has so much the skill and the nuance to take us through that journey of someone who's unseen, felt unheard, and just lives on the margins of society, how when he finds out that he has a mission to be potentially all-powerful and all great, how does that affect him? And that's really the story we want to tell. Plus, it opens the door to horror.